Let's turn now to major developments in Washington, D.C., where the president has decided that the United States can no longer tolerate the corruption of the Mexican drug cartels and the deadly consequences of the tens of billions of dollars of illegal drugs those cartels smuggle across our southern border. President Trump ran on an agenda of securing the border. Since taking office, the president has done just that. The Trump administration working tirelessly to stop the flow of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs, working with Central American governments and Mexico, cracking down on caravans and false asylum seekers. The president's pressure on the Mexican government has led to as many as 27,000 Mexican troops now on the borders, helping curb illegal immigration to the United States. But as aggressive as Mexico has been in cracking down on illegal immigration, the government of Mexico appears reluctant to take the same aggressive posture to fight the violence of the deadly drug cartels, even though 80% of Mexico is now either controlled or disputed by the cartels, even though the murder rate in Mexico is on pace yet again for another record-setting year. Through October, more than 29,000 people have been killed, up from 28,869 over the same period a year ago. President Trump is suggesting he will designate those cartels as terrorist organizations. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador pledged he will cooperate in combating cartel violence with the United States, but rejects the idea of intervention by the United States. Joining us tonight is Tom Homan to take up this issue. Tom, former acting director of Immigration, Customs Enforcement, Fox Business contributor. Tom, great to see you, and the president standing up and taking on the cartels, despite the protestation originally and initially by Manuel López Obrador.
Look, once again, President Trump's 100% accurate. He's right on this issue. Mexico can't defeat the cartels without us. They failed at this for decades now, 4 decades at least. We have experience, Lou. We did this in Panama with Noriega. We did it with Chapo out of Colombia. We can go and help these people. We have the sophistication of investigations. We have the forensics of financial investigations. We have talented investigators, very talented prosecutors. Mexico cannot succeed without us on this issue.
Mexico can't succeed, and the cartels depend on this country to succeed. With their sex trafficking, their human smuggling, the smuggling of deadly drugs, the corruption of the entire border, and let's be clear, it's both sides of that border, and the deadly violence that Mexico is exporting into this country, the deadly fentanyl that China is exporting to Mexico for distribution into the United States. This nonsense, the president has decided, is at an end, doing what, as you correctly point out, what every one of his predecessors lacked the courage and principle to do, and that is to shut it down.
Bingo. And, you know, in a safer Mexico, we equal a safer United States. Because we had almost 70,000 overdose deaths of drugs coming across that border. Right. But I'll tell you something, Lou. I'll tell you something else going to happen. I haven't been wrong yet when I try to tell you what's going to happen on this border. What's going to happen now, the cartels, if we don't attack them and start dismantling them, they're going to get more violent, which means more crimes, more homicides, and that's exactly what the left is looking for. They want Mexico to be designated no longer a safe third country. And if some federal judge agrees with that, you're going to see the Remain in Mexico program go away, because we won't be able to send Central Americans back to that country because there's no longer a safe third country. And when the day that happens, the Central American caravan is going to start up again. So this isn't just about drugs and crime. It's about the left working hard to undo the Remain in Mexico program and designate that country as an unsafe country. And that's why, another reason we need to attack these cartels.
Well, I take that. What is your outlook, though? What is it you're predicting?
I'm predicting that the left is trying hard. The number of Mexicans right now claiming fear, which is unheard of in the past, it was rare, is climbing steadily at a great pace.
Is it based,
the left is working, getting people from southern Mexico come up and claim fear. And if the cartels keep this violent action, the left, ACLU, whoever's going to go to federal court and ask the federal judge who they'll shop in the Ninth Circuit and declare that Mexico is no longer a safe third country. That is why we need to dismantle these cartels, because it's going to help us on the immigration issues also.
To talk about this issue, the president last night in Sunrise, Florida, as he's rallying with tens of thousands of people in the audience as usual, here's what he had to say addressing the issue of border security. If we could play that, please.
And we're doing great on the border. We're doing great on the border. On no issue have Democrat politicians become more dangerous than immigration. The Democrat Party wants open borders, which is a betrayal of every mother and father who wants deadly drugs to be kept out of their community. They want open borders.
And open borders is precisely what the Democrats are running on. It is what they're responsible for, and it is an awful, awful record to try to seek votes in this environment. Whereas we just both discussed 70,000 overdose deaths, fentanyl coming into this country in rates that would kill literally hundreds of millions of Americans if distributed onto the streets. This, and by the way, China, let's repeat that, China is the source of that fentanyl, or at least nearly all of it. This is a major moment for the United States and for the government of Mexico. And I have to say, I'm encouraged because Lopez Obrador, and yes, the president, threatened tariffs if he did not begin to take a mature and responsible position on securing that border. But now he is cooperating with this president to end the deadly violence that has drained the blood from much of Mexico for 40 years, for crying out loud.
Well, two things. I think the president of Mexico understands he cannot defeat these cartels without us. Corruption, the Mexican military and law enforcement, not all of them, but a lot of them. He needs our help, and we've proven in other countries we can do this. And the second thing, you're right, Lou, on the open borders advocacy. Every person running for the Democratic ticket, they're not even hiding it. They're pushing open borders, abolish ICE, ending immigration detention. That is why I want them to keep talking like that, because I think it'll help this president win the election by a landslide in 2020.
All right. Tom Homan.
Americans want a secure border.
Oh, without question. And by the way, so do Mexican citizens. Tom, thanks so much. Tom Homan.